Who would be?
What?
Sabrina? No.
No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of asses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league,
The energy in the Indiana Fever training camp right now is absolutely electric, but there is a massive storm brewing that the rest of the WNBA is not prepared for. We are talking about a total shift in the landscape of women's basketball because, for the first time in league history, the biggest target in sports has a literal shield standing right next to her. If you thought the physical bullying and the cheap shots that Caitlin Clark endured last season were going to fly in 2026, you better think again, because Sophie Cunningham just sent a message that is vibrating through every locker room from Las Vegas to New York. This isn't just about basketball anymore. This is about survival. And Sophie Cunningham has officially stepped into the role of the WNBA's most dangerous enforcer. Let's be real for a second because we all saw what happened. We saw the way veterans treated Caitlin like she didn't belong. We saw the hard fouls, the extra shoves after the whistle, and the blatant disrespect from players who were clearly threatened by the Caitlin Clark effect. But the Indiana Fever front office finally woke up and realized that you cannot leave your billion-dollar asset unprotected in a league that is clearly out for blood. By bringing in Sophie Cunningham, they didn't just sign a knockdown shooter. They signed a certified pitbull who thrives in the chaos. Sophie is known for her grit, her trash-talking, and the fact that she never, ever backs down from a fight. And during a recent press conference that has the entire league office shaking, Sophie made it crystal clear that the days of using Caitlin Clark as a punching bag are officially over. She didn't just say it with words. She said it with an intensity that made the reporters in the room go silent. She told the cameras that if anyone thinks they're going to get a free pass to play dirty against Caitlin this year, they are going to have to go through her first. And Sophie Cunningham is not someone you want to go through. She's the type of player who will dive into the stands for a loose ball and then give you a stare down that makes you question your entire career. The message was brutal, direct, and honestly, it was exactly what Indiana fans have been begging for. For too long, Aaliyah Boston and the rest of the squad were trying to play the nice way, trying to let their game do the talking. But Sophie knows that in this league, sometimes you have to speak a language that the bullies understand. Imagine you're a defender coming off a screen and you're thinking about giving Caitlin a little extra elbow. In 2025, you might have gotten away with it. But in 2026, you're going to look up and see Sophie Cunningham already moving toward you with a look in her eyes that says, "Try it and see what happens." This is a massive psychological advantage for Caitlin. When you don't have to worry about getting blindsided or undercut every time you take a logo triple, your game goes to a completely different level. We are already seeing the results in the leaked training camp footage. Caitlin is playing with a level of freedom and swagger that we haven't seen since her Iowa days. She's laughing, she's shimmying, and most importantly, she's looking over at Sophie and nodding because she knows she's finally safe. But the real drama started when word of Sophie's warning reached the rest of the league. Rumor has it that some of the league's biggest villains are already fuming. We're hearing reports that players who have historically targeted Caitlin are calling this unprofessional or theatrical. But isn't that hilarious? It's okay for them to play physical and border on dangerous, but the moment the Fever signs someone to push back, suddenly it's a problem. This is the hypocrisy that Sophie is calling out. She's exposing the fact that the WNBA has allowed a culture of Caitlin hunting to exist. And she is the one-woman wrecking crew sent to dismantle it. The chemistry between Caitlin and Sophie is already being described as frightening for opponents. They aren't just teammates, they are becoming a duo that represents the two sides of the Fever's new identity. Caitlin is the finesse, the magic, and the scoring machine that brings the fans to their seats. Sophie is the muscle, the attitude, and the grit that keeps them in the game when things get ugly. This enforcer narrative is taking over social media because fans have waited years to see a star of Caitlyn's magnitude get the protection she deserves. You look at the NBA greats. Michael Jordan had Charles Oakley, Magic Johnson had Kurt Rambies. Every GOAT needs a protector, and Sophie Cunningham is stepping into that role with a terrifying level of enthusiasm. What makes this even more spicy is how the league office is reacting. They know that a protected Caitlin Clark is a Caitlin Clark that breaks every single TV rating record in existence, but they also fear the Cunningham factor might lead to some of the most heated games we've ever seen. Can you imagine the first time the Fever play the Sky or the Aces this season? The tension is going to be thick enough to cut with a knife. Sophie isn't just protecting Caitlin from fouls. She's protecting her from the mental warfare that players like Angel Reese and Chennedy Carter have tried to use in the past. Sophie is a master of mental warfare herself, and she's already living rent-free in the heads of every defender in the league. There's also the Aaliyah Boston factor to consider here. With Sophie taking on the enforcer duties, Aaliyah can focus entirely on being the dominant force in the paint. The Fever are building a wall around their franchise player, and it's a wall made of iron and bad intentions. Sophie's warning wasn't just a soundbite for the media, it was a mission statement. She's been quoted saying that she doesn't care about being liked by other players in the league. She only cares about two things: winning and making sure. Number 22 is upright at the end of the night. That kind of loyalty is rare, and it's exactly why the Fever are the betting favorites to cause a massive upset this year. The WNBA Bullies are officially on notice. The narrative that you can just push Caitlin Clark around to test her is dead. Sophie Cunningham has buried it. Every time a whistle blows this season, eyes aren't just going to be on the refs. They're going to be on Sophie to see how she responds. And if her training camp energy is any indication, we are about to see some of the most intense, high-stakes basketball in the history of the sport. Caitlin Clark has her enforcer, the Indiana Fever have their swagger back, and the rest of the WNBA just realized that the easy games against the Fever are a thing of the past. The warning has been sent, the lines have been drawn, and if you touch Caitlin Clark this season, you better be prepared to pay the Sophie Cunningham tax. This season is about to get very, very physical, and for the first time, the Fever are the ones holding all the power. The league wanted a rivalry, they wanted drama, and they wanted a battle. Well, Sophie Cunningham just gave it to them, and by the looks of it, she isn't planning on taking any prisoners. Get your popcorn ready, because the 2026 WNBA season is officially the Sophie and Caitlin show, and anyone standing in their way is about to find out exactly what happens when you poke the bear. The Caitlin Clark enforcer isn't just a title, it's a promise of total war on the court.